Today we're talking to Tracy Tennant. Tracy wrote a book called Confessions of an Ex-Mormon that deals with some of the issues that people have to face on their journey out of Mormonism into biblical faith. And as you leave Mormonism, one of the tendencies that a lot of people do is just to go atheist or agnostic and to just jettison faith entirely. And I can understand the impulse to do that. Why do some people do that? I mean, what's some of the reasons why maybe people just say Mormonism isn't true, so nothing is true?
I think it's the fact that you've had this whole paradigm your whole life, and now it's been proven false or whatnot. And now it's like, well, maybe religion in general is just this whole scam. Yeah. And I know that when I left the church, I mean, it wasn't very long. It was only maybe the course of a week or two, but I was questioning, right. Is God real? How do I know that he exists? How do I know that Jesus really walked the earth?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my whole concept of God and of Jesus is all wrapped up in the Mormon church. Mm-hmm. And so, I know they lied to me about history and some other things that I discovered. How do I know they didn't lie to me about even God and basic, stuff like that? So, and then, it's like they've told me that they're the one true church, that every other church is inferior. And when the one true church doesn't measure up, that doesn't leave me anywhere else to go.
Yeah, right. We go from one extreme to another. Well, if the church isn't true, then nothing is true. Well, I mean, that doesn't even make logical sense, but we're in such emotional turmoil and distress that we tend to go to the extremes. But we need to realize that there is a middle ground. Mormonism can be false, and yet God can be very real and very present.
Right, and it's important to make that distinction. What if God exists, but he just doesn't exist the way that the Mormons portray him and all the rest? So give me some reasons why I'm coming out of Mormonism. I've discovered all these things. Why shouldn't I just write off faith entirely?
Well, here's an analogy. For example, let's say, okay, so you came out of a false church. Well, in the regular world, you're out buying cars. Maybe every time you've bought a Ford, there's been one issue after another. This recall, that recall. It's all been lemons. Now you are through. You are nothing against Ford, please. Yeah. Just an analogy.
Right. It could be. You could pick anyone. Could be
whatever. Yeah. Pick anyone. So you're fed up with it. You've spent so much money. I am through with Fords. What are you going to do? Ride a bicycle the rest of your life? Are you going to skateboard? No, you are going to go to Consumer Reports. You're going to read about the different issues. Which car has quality work, is faithful, is reliable, and then you go out and you buy that car. Why should it be any difference if we will spend that much time and effort and research into buying a car that's going to last us for a decade? How much more important is the eternal?
Yeah, that's a great point. If I'm not going to quit driving because I had a bad experience with a particular car, why would I quit faith because I had a bad experience with one particular expression of faith? Right?
Or if you've been in an abusive relationship,
right?
Maybe you were married to a man who, if you're a woman, I hope, who beats you or something. Does that mean that all men are scoundrels? No. Right. Hopefully you get the help you need, you leave that relationship, and then in the future, after a time of reflection and recovery, you're ready to find someone who can be that loving, supportive spouse.
Right.
You don't write off the whole deal.
Right. And you might be more careful and thoughtful about your relationship choice, I hope, but you don't just say, I'm done, right?
Yeah. And another thing too is think of the concept of counterfeits. Counterfeits wouldn't exist if there wasn't something real and authentic and genuine to base them off of.
Right.
Maybe you saw some guy on a street corner, hey, Rolex watches, $50. You're thinking, wow, what an investment. I'll buy it off this guy for $50 and go and sell it for $5,000. And then you find out that it was a fake. Well, so now what? You're never going to believe that Rolexes are real?
Right. Yeah, that's a great illustration. And so let's talk about then the Christian faith in particular, why should a person embrace historic biblical Christianity after Mormonism? Why is the Christian faith different from Mormonism? And that gives us, maybe some basis for making that choice.
Well, the difference between, say, Mormonism and Christianity, outside of the theological differences, is just that in Mormonism, we don't have the evidence. It's based on pray about it. And when you get that feeling in here, you'll get a spiritual witness that it's true. But in Christianity, we don't hear let's pray over the Bible to see if it's true. Right. So Book of Mormon versus Bible is the difference between, so this war that killed 2 million people in the eastern part of the United States, and here it is 1,400 years later, and supposedly there were steel swords and everything, but there's no bones, there's no swords, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. But yet if you go over to the Middle East, someone who lives in Israel can hardly plant tomatoes in their garden without finding a piece of pottery that's 4,000 years old. Or
exactly.
They found ossuaries, they're like bone boxes that have the names of people who were in the Bible.
Yeah.
The people, the places, the events actually happened.
Right.
And we don't have 100% of evidence for every little thing in the Bible, but when everything that we do have actually checks out historically and whatnot, then we can trust that it's reliable.
Right. Whereas with Mormonism, you don't have any of that evidence. So you could say, I could say, hey, the moon is, made of green cheese, right? And we've been to the moon, and we've brought back rocks from the moon, and they weren't made of cheese. And so it's like me saying, well, just pray about it, and God will tell you that the moon is made of green cheese, and so therefore you're going to believe it no matter what the facts might be, right? So there's a sense in which I think as Latter-day Saints we're asked to have blind faith in certain things. How's that different from faith in Christianity?
We're not told to have that blind faith, like in terms of this is what leaders say. Like in Mormonism, of course, as we all know, we listen to the leaders, what they say over the pulpit at General Conference and whatnot. But you won't find in Christianity that it's, listen to the church fathers, as they're sometimes known as. Let's read the writings of Augustine and Origen or whoever and follow their teachings. No, it's like the Bible is authentic in itself, and there's actual proofs.
And test it,
Test it. And that's another thing. We tend to find within Mormonism, we are discouraged in a large sense from asking questions, for looking into things. If we look outside of official sanctioned church material, it's, that's spiritual porn, stay away from that. But within Christianity, we find that it's okay to question, and it's okay to look, and we can look at these different sources and see, what checks out, and we're able to separate on an intellectual level. We're able to separate fact from fiction, what's cultural Christianity, because there, just as there's cultural Mormonism, there's cultural Christianity, but we're able to discern what is a doctrine that we should be following and what's just a tradition. And it's not, and I should add, it's not all an intellectual pursuit, but it's both mind and heart working in harmony.
Right. But the mind part is valid still.
Right.
So hopefully that's helpful, because you've come to understand that there's these problems in Mormonism, and it might be tempting to say, hey, forget it. Forget faith entirely. The Bible has all the same problems the Book of Mormon has. Well, that's not really true. And so we'd encourage you to take some time to check it out and let the claims of historic Christianity stand on their own. Don't just conflate them with Mormonism. It's possible to have authentic and a reasonable faith in God even after Mormonism. And so hopefully that's what you'll discover as you take the time to look into it. We encourage you to do that. And so thanks for watching today. I hope this has been an encouragement to you.